So I'm going to try to trudge through this as fast as I possibly can while the busybodies have walked away and are coming back in a second. Here we go. Depending on the standards and tradition and type, caliber can refer to the bore measurement between the lands in a gun or the grooves that are cut into the barrel, and you can also cut out, so you get the idea, for a rifled barrel, or just the bore of the smooth bore. More often, however, it is referring to the projectile, which can be any size in between, even if it's rifled. As long as it works, it can work. So, if a typical 12 gauge shotgun can do the following, what is its caliber? It can fire a shell that is tapered from, these are bastardized calibers, this is not how you're supposed to say caliber. 80.9 caliber tapers down to 79.6 caliber. That's the shell. And this goes into a chamber that's also tapered from 81.1 caliber down to 79.8 caliber. 1/1000th larger of an inch. This chamber then causes whatever comes out of the shell to be forced through a forcing cone down to a 72.5 caliber smooth bore. But so that it can clear a muzzle with the same caliber, the maximum choke you can put into them that you're going to run into can't be reducing it down less than 70 caliber, because there's a shot cup in it that has to be able to fit through. Even if it kind of hits and twangs off, that's the maximum you can do it, unless it's a progressive choke, in which case it squeezes it down, or built-in choke, that is a squeeze bore from the muzzle all the way back to that forcing cone to fire pellets, or, because it's 70 caliber minimum, because that's basically the practical minimum, you can get smaller, but it has to be very slow progressing choke to get away with the next step. You can put a solid slug in it. The solid slug's maximum diameter, traditionally, on standards and type, says that a 12 gauge shotgun's actual caliber goes from the 80 or 81 caliber it starts at the base of the shell and orifice, the pipe, down to 69 caliber. So a 12 gauge shotgun is a 69 caliber gun, 0.69 inches, 69. You can't make yourself forget it, you now know the numbers. Now, why am I concentrating on 12 gauge shotguns? I'll get to that. It's in the freaking thumbnail. But that's for solid slug. What advantages and disadvantages are there with a solid slug? Well, I'll bring up an only situation there's an advantage. But anyway, the legal definition for a shotgun. A firearm. That is a specific legal term. It's a catch-all phrase. It refers to a combustible material propellant, cartridge-based device. Doesn't have to be any other kind that has a barrel, and you put a cartridge in it, and it uses propulsion by combustion. If it's a hydrogen-oxygen mix, or it's a potato gun where you put gas into it and it fires a potato, technically, if it has a cartridge, it's a shotgun or a pistol or a rifle, depending on how large it is and long it is and what the diameters are. If it's under 50 caliber, or over, definitions change. Otherwise, it's a breech or muzzle loading non-gun or some other damn thing. You're going to have to trudge through it. I'm going to be doing a whole video on that, but I'm doing these in chunks for a reason. This is the reveal video, what started this freaking looking up data fest. And until today, I didn't find the exception for me and for all of you out there that have been watching these videos covertly. On Reddit, apparently. The legal definition for a shotgun is it has to be a two-handed controlled, shoulder-fired weapon with a stock. It doesn't matter if it's a 20 caliber or 17 caliber gun that fires literally dust. It's a shotgun if it has a stock. It has to be operated with 2 hands because it's shoulder stocked. It doesn't have to be a high or low caliber. The only rule is smooth bore. That's it. Now, why would someone cut these down to make the infamous sawed-off shotgun? I'm going to tell you about the exception for today. Cutting down a shotgun makes its projectile grouping, or the single projectile, scatter closer in towards the gun. But if it's a single projectile, it doesn't scatter. So solid slugs are okay. And it does this more than would be useful for most game hunting, except when it's a solid slug. And if you also cut its stock, it makes it more concealable, which violates concealed weapons permit rules, and easier to maneuver, and advantageous, and would seem to be useful only just to kill people, or fire a solid slug and be an excuse to make an overbore pistol or gun. And also there's the idea that if you chop off the choke and reduce the amount of friction caused by the barrel, it slows down the ammo less, so it may go faster, because the maximum velocity, as I've mentioned in the title, the legal and ballistic implications of using a 3-inch barrel for your bench testing of firearm ammunition maximum speed implies somehow that if you shorten the barrel, it'll go faster. And in fact, you'll find lots of mainstream media and even cops talking about how making the barrel shorter makes the bullet go faster. Every one of you out there that just started typing NRA style already knows that that's horseshit, because, as I mentioned in other videos, in order to get a bullet to go down a barrel, you want to expend all the gunpowder, otherwise it's just throwing gunpowder everywhere. So what are the point of these short-barreled, sawed-off shotguns? They work really good in video games. You can sneak them in somewhere. They're intimidating as hell. And if you actually use shotgun pellets, they're worthless beyond a certain distance. You can't really hunt with them. So it implies they're just for killing people. But what if you only just took a shotgun and chopped down the stock? Because you can get a shotgun that's so damn big that cutting the stock down actually makes it much more normal sized. Well, you can't fire it from the shoulder anymore, right? But what does it turn into? If you made it originally, I just said you, remember in the United States firearm laws, FFL, Federal Firearms Licensing, is not required for ordinary citizens if you're not making guns for the purpose of distribution or sale. As long as there's a reasonable expectation you're not building them to sell them. And you're not going to give them away. It's perfectly legal for you to make a gun in the United States because you can't give a corporation more rights than a person because we'll all bitch too loud. Also, you shouldn't give gun rights to only a certain group of people and take it away from the majority, because then they'll just disobey you and overthrow you. But anyway, if you make a gun, anybody, including a company like Mossberg, makes a firearm, remember it has to have the gunpowder, barrel, and cartridge rule, 26 inches or more in overall length. So it's legally, the whole thing is shotgun or rifle sized. It has to be 26 inches or longer. Can't be pistol size, okay? And never give it a butt stock and make it to where you can't put one on. And you give it a barrel that isn't rifled, because it has to be overtly designed as a shotgun. Because shotgun shells, even though they're overbore, larger than half an inch or 50 caliber, are designated, generally considered as particularly suitable for sporting purposes. Sporting purposes means shooting and hunting, and also means clay pigeon shooting or anything you fucking want to. Sporting purposes is a code word for having fun or acquiring food during the Depression. This technically would become a 26-inch long firearm with a 14-inch barrel length minimum, or is it maximum? As long as it's 26-inch overall length with a 73 caliber bore that's fired like a pistol or handgun They can never have a stock added, because when you add it, it's got too short of a barrel. And again, now the next stage, what if you just put an 18-inch barrel on it instead of a 14-inch barrel, bare minimum? At that point, legally speaking, you have made, depending on where you're standing, a short barrel shotgun out of it. Or you can just add a stock and make it a shotgun. But the instant you convert it to a shotgun, you cannot change it back. So if you just leave it with a slightly overlong barrel, suddenly it's very illegal or very legal depending on where you're standing. Because it fell between the cracks as a design. The prohibition on ammunition larger than the diameter of 50 caliber excludes any shotgun ammo, because a shotgun with a smaller diameter than 50 caliber, or in this case, as I mentioned, 69 caliber for 12 gauge for the actual slugs, is worthless because it spreads out the shot. So it has to have a barrel diameter that's bigger than 50 caliber for it to be really considered effective. A 410 shotgun is a 41 caliber, and it's considered barely effective against smaller animals and can be used for self-defense. Then it also happens to match up with a pistol round, and you can get a pistol that'll fire 410 shotgun shells if you really hate yourself. But I mentioned this pistol. Yeah, that's it. This is considered not a pistol. It doesn't have rifling, so it's not a pistol. It doesn't have a buttstock, so it's not a shotgun. All of this falls outside the normal classification and avoids falling into any legally defined firearm category, and cannot be judged as a sawed-off shotgun because it never had a long barrel, a shotgun because it never had a buttstock, a short-barreled shotgun because it's not a shotgun, a normal-sized rifle or shotgun because it isn't normal-sized, it's sub-sized. Can't be called a handgun, even though that's absolutely what it is, because it doesn't have rifling. Even though rifling is required to make a handgun, by deliberately making a shotgun this crazy, it's not considered a pistol or a handgun. It's not considered concealable because the whole thing physically is 26 inches or longer. It's not a smoothbore pistol, even though it very obviously fucking is. It's not any other weapon or destructive device. If a weapon has a 14-inch barrel and a stock, it becomes an unregistered short-barreled shotgun. If its barrel is 18 inches long and it's still legal, but as soon as you put a stock on it, it's been redesigned as a shotgun, which is totally legal, but you can't change it back. It cannot be converted back at all. It must be born this way to keep it in this bizarre balancing act legal gray area so that you can get away with having something that is utterly worthless for hunting with shotgun shells. Totally defeats the purpose of having a shotgun pellet shooting ruling, because you can put in, let's repeat this, a 69 caliber slug. That's what it ends up as, just because. You can get bigger ones, obviously. That's what she said. So 26 inches or 660 millimeters and a half is less than the distance from your elbow to the tip of your middle finger, plus the one span of a widely spread hand from thumb to pinky. So if a cubit is 18 inches, that distance, and a span is 9 inches, which is from here, a palm and 3 inches, and a palm is 3 inches by width, then this 26-inch limit is a little bit less than a cubit and a palm span, or a hand span. Not the palm width. There. Just a little bit shorter. So, destructive device, anything over 50 caliber, exception for shotgun. Length limit, blah, blah, blah. Now, where did this start? Because I found out, because of a legal designation like this, I'm not allowed to make a toy flare gun. And neither are you. Unless you do something stupid and badass looking. Literally give it an insanely long barrel, and suddenly, even though it's obviously a long barrel pistol, legally speaking, it is not restricted in any way. But if it is, if you make it shorter, 26 inches long overall, than that, even if it's made of plastic, because some idiot out there made these rules. They don't make sense, they don't have to. It's the law. I'll deal with it, you deal with it. Thanks for watching, have a good day. Good luck with that. Long barrel pistol.